Hello everyone, welcome back to the layout. It is a rainy Saturday afternoon here in California, and I have some updates to show you regarding the layout. So, to start off with, I will show you that I have decided to finally cut in this left-hand Pico switch. Originally when I built the layout, I did plan to have an industry down here. The industry was going to be the grain elevator, but just the way it was built, its size, I'm not really able to fit it with this this overpass. It's the little shelter thing. It needs to be back too far. Anyway, I decided between the two, and I like the overpass just because it really does distract you from the, end of layout yellow wall. So I've done that. Still need to get the tortoise mounted under it. It's not glued down or anything. One thing I did do, which is actually the few switches that I have decided to do this on, is I actually ran some wire underneath the rail and this rail right here. I think that's a stock rail, so that's the point rail and that's the frog. Both of these rails are powered with the same cable, and same with these. It's not something I've done with the other switches, and now I wish I had. For example, this switch down here, I was relying on the points to make electrical contact with the rail here, and then provide electricity all the way through. That really wasn't working, so as you can kind of see right here, because it's not painted, I scraped off some of the paint and then dropped a feeder wire here and then another one over here. Once I get it all painted up, you won't be able to tell, but now all the engines run perfectly well over the switch, which I'm happy about. Another thing that you'll probably see in a running video soon is I decided to animate the post-60 style Walters crossing lights. This entire thing was, you start with one thing and then it leads to another thing and then to another thing, and you just open a whole can of worms. So it started with cutting in the switch and then putting in the feeders for the other switch that was already installed, and by that time I already had the wires ripped out, so I had a spare Grade Crossing Pro and a spare BD20 or two. So I just wired those in, and now these activate anytime a locomotive or car is anywhere between the switch and the end of the layout, including the siding. I will more than likely gap this and then have some power from the yard, so that doesn't trigger the flashers. We'll see. I'll probably end up doing it because I'm picky like that. Excuse me. And then I've also done a little work on this building here. I had saved the paper, the little inserts they have for the Angassi booksellers. I know I'm butchering the name because I can't read. But anyway, so I added some curtains. I'm going to let this focus. There we go. So I added some of the upper curtains. I cut out the black on the top, but you can see I left it on the bottom. So you can still see inside, but you can kind of see there's some curtains right there. Same with the back. And then in the front is where we had the biggest transformation. Sorry while I move things around. Alright, much better. I moved to the other side of the Y. But anyway, so what I did is I cut out the parts from the Argosy bookseller's sheet that comes with the kit from Walters, and I just used the parts that I wanted. So obviously it says Argosy Books. It has on the top windows and the stained glass, and then in the back, instead of just folding it to be very close to the windows, I just pasted it flat all the way to the back. And then what I did is I took that little cafe set, I think it's from Prizer, and then I just put that up front. Looks like I need to re-glue in one of the guys, but this is the overall look so far. I think it looks pretty fantastic, especially at night. And I'll probably leave the entire second floor just dark. Those can be the offices, and the top level is just living space. So yeah, that's the Argosy Booksellers structure. And then the other structure that I've worked on happens to be over here as well. It's the, I want to say it's the commissary building. So I finally decided to add lights to it. And essentially what I did is Miniatronics has some of their 12-volt bulbs. Wait, there we go. That come with these really cool lampshades, if you will. So this thing right here I'm pointing at with the rail. So what I did is I had recently soldered a whole bunch of surface mount diode LEDs. So I took out the 12-volt bulb, and these are all now wired with LEDs. And I took some of my, it's not brass, I think it's aluminum tube. And I'm using that to hold up the shade to get, you know, this cool little lighting feature effect that looks, you know, pretty authentic if you ask me. I'll probably paint, you know, the pipe and the shade to be not just the bare metal, but for now it looks great. And then on the side, I added the a Woodland Scenics easy peasy lighting. I cut off the connectors, so there is soldering required, but I did that on that side. And then one thing I also wanted to do was the scene, of course, was missing a whole lot, so I was trying to add some character. So I got some fencing, and I'll have to look up which fencing it is. I'll just write that down when I edit the video. But anyway, so I got some fencing around the track. I was originally thinking about, you know, doing chain link fencing or wood fencing and having a gate here. But because this wasn't planned well, this crossing gate really doesn't allow a lot of room. And to be honest, even when you throw a car back here, you can actually, it scrapes, which holds the car in, so it serves a purpose. But anyway, having a really high fence wouldn't make any sense here. It would block the lower set of flashers. So I got this little wood fence you'd normally see out in a field, designed to hold back, I don't know, some cows or whatever. And just adding it added a whole lot to the scene. You know, I cut it to size. It's just use the Woodland Scenics tack glue, I think, to put it on. So that's looking pretty good. Excuse me. And then I wanted also to fill in this area, and I had moved out the pellet plastic transfer facility. I know I'm inverting those words. Plastic pellet transfer facility, that's what it is. So I put that over here, and then behind it I actually have the Walters diesel shop I had for the last layout. It just doesn't fit on this layout, so I took it apart gently as I could. So the back end of it is actually just a background structure behind the plastic pellet transfer facility, and I mean, just as you can see, it all goes together really nice. Still need to put some of the windows back in, and then probably add some lights. But it adds a lot to the scene to have, you know, structures in front of the backdrop. And then coming over here, I don't think I've done much with this structure. I know I worked on it a bit, but I think that was just interior stuff. I'm probably going to repaint the brick and such. And just coming over here, I've wired in this Walters Modern Light. And I think that's what I've done over here, so we can actually go ahead and tour around to the other half of the layout. Here are the two long sides of that diesel engine shop. I need to put in some of the glass again, but it really does look nice just being a background building. And then I did more work on these buildings right here. As I just mentioned, the plastic pellet transfer facility silos were here, so I moved those out, And then I had some of the Walters modern day lights and the old style lights, so I've installed those. And then I redid some of the lighting in the back of the General Electric building and in whatever this building is. I've also added, just, you know, to make it look more interesting, a nice graded walkway. And, you know, of course there's still a little more to do. Need to add a door, probably want to weather it. I patched this in, so I need to paint that, or put a door there or something. And then I probably haven't shown you this, but I decided finally to fill in the center of the track here and paint it. For whatever reason I painted it before I dug out all the rails properly, so I need to restain / paint that again. And then eventually I'll get some lights for this building over here and make the shelter for those trucks and get the roof finally cleaned up. But I just said this, but I repainted all of this to differentiate it from the other two concrete pads, just to give it more character. And then other than that, I've got some of the Walters fencing between these two structures. Clearly it needs to be painted, and all of that needs to be actually installed. And then the other project I've been working on is getting ESU lock sound in this GP40X with elephant ears. It was an interesting install, I'll just put it that way. Ended up needing to completely repower it because it had the really old cruddy motors. Cleaned out the gunk in the gears, and I gave it LED lighting. You will of course be seeing a running video of this engine shortly. And I think that is about it. I've got more of this fencing here that I'll install, and then maybe even get this depot lighted up. And then coming back, looks like I forgot to show you, here's more of the fencing I added on this road. So yeah, I think this video is long enough. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you later.